What's going on, family? I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuff series. Black Murderers Row has been in conversation many times. I know because I was amongst them, covering this topic many of times, with titles such as The Color Line, and many other titles. Had this conversation with Hardline Boxing as we covered the greatest black fighters from 1890 to 1943. It was labeled the Colored Champions. Also covered this conversation with Random Accustomed Thoughts and Hardline Boxing. As we covered Sam Langford, as we covered the top 10 heavyweights, 1900s to 1925. Had this conversation with Curtis Anderson and Stormy B-Man. We touched on these topics many of times. But when I get into this topic, I speak specifically of the time in which the men came and what the argument represents. Now, you'll say to me, well, Black Murderers Row wasn't up until 1943. And I'll tell you, it was. Then you'll say to me, so why didn't Holman Williams and Charlie Burley, as well as Coco Kid, and for that matter, even Burt Littell, not receive an opportunity in 1949 when Marcel Sedan would defeat Tony Zale? He would then give that opportunity to Jake LaMotta. Jake LaMotta was ranked number 3. Holman Williams was ranked number 2. And Charlie Burley was ranked number 1. I would say you're right. However, understand one thing. I just said to you that when you look at the time in which the men came and what the topic represents, it represents 1890 to 1943. Why? Because you had the colored divisions. And that's basically what it represented. These men had to face one each other over and over again. They had to face each other over and over again. Prime example. When you look at as many times as Black Murderers Row would face one another, it would be 116 times. Did you know that? Did you know if you included Ezra Charles and Archie Moore, it would be a total of 136 times? Were you concerned or aware of Charlie Burley having 18 total bouts with Black Murderers Row, 11 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw, and 3 knockouts? Jimmy Bivens, 2 total bouts with Black Murderers Row, 2 wins, no losses, and 1 knockout. Coco Kid, Herbert Lewis Hardwick, was known as the Puerto Rican Dynamite, had 21 total bouts with Black Murderers Row, 10 wins, 8 losses, 3 draws, and no knockouts. Follow the pattern. Eddie Booker, who was known as Black Dynamite, has 6 total bouts with Black Murderers Row, 2 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw. He didn't have any knockouts. Lloyd Marshall was a middleweight, but would remain light heavyweight through the course of his career. 9 total bouts with Black Murderers Row, 3 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw, no knockouts. Holman Williams, who ran from the featherweight as high as the middleweight, looking for a title shot. He would face one fighter in the featherweight division. His name was Tommy Paul. He would become a champion, but he wasn't champion at that time. Holman Williams would become the colored middleweight champion. He had 35 total bouts with Black Murderers Row. 16 wins, 15 losses, 4 draws, and 1 knockout. Little Tiger Aaron Wade had 10 total bouts with Black Murderers Row. 2 wins, 7 losses, 1 draw, and 0 knockouts. Jack Chase, Little Joe Louis, would have 15 total bouts with Black Murderers Row. 4 wins, 9 losses, 2 draws, and 1 knockout. When you look at Burt Lytell, he had 10 total bouts with Black Murderers Row. 6 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, and 1 knockout. Now, Ezard Charles would have 10 total bouts with Black Murderers Row. 8 wins, 2 losses, and 3 knockouts. I want you to pay close attention to what's happening here and look at the knockout ratio when they face one another. Archie Moore had 23 total bouts with Black Murderers Row. 14 wins, 6 losses, 3 draws. And guess what? He had the most, 7 knockouts. Now, Archie Moore was a fantastic middleweight, as was Ezard Charles. And if you look at the color line, a video that I posted a couple videos ago, I actually showed you it was the ranking system of where these men ranked. And since Archie Moore and Ezard Charles couldn't get a middleweight opportunity, they would have to jump up to the light heavyweight, 44-45. Now, you had Ray Robinson, who would turn professional October 4th, 1940. And he tried to get an opportunity in 1941 with Sammy Angott. Angott chose to come in weight. Came in weighing 136 pounds. In fact, it was 136 and a half pounds. He worked out an arrangement with Robinson. I need you to come in overweight as well, because if you don't, they're going to strip me from my title. You will never get a shot. And if you don't get a shot, you would defeat the purpose of boxing. Would that be not correct? And I'm the only one that would give it to you. So they would grant that wish. Both men would come in weighing 136. One would be 136 and a quarter. One would be 136 and a half. And shortly after that, Sammy Angott would retire. He got his way out of facing Ray Robinson. Ray Robinson would have the same problem with Marty Servo when he moved up to the welterweight division. Marty Servo would lose to Ray Robinson twice. The war would come. In 1946, when his title became active again, Ray Robinson was ranked number 1. And he chose not to face Ray Robinson. He faced Rocky Graziano. Got his nose broken. And he retired. Henry Armstrong would get an opportunity, and he would make the best of it. And that was a very frightening experience in the establishment. Here you have a young man who was a featherweight. He would win that title in 1937. That same year, he would have a record of 27-0 with 26 knockouts. He would defeat a former junior lightweight champion in Benny Bass of Philadelphia. But for the title, he would take out Petey Cerrone in 6 rounds in New York's Madison Square Garden, breaking all kinds of records. He have 19 title defenses as a welterweight champion. That same year in 38, he would also capture the lightweight division, as he did as a welterweight with Barney Ross. But the lightweight, he would win over Lou Ambers. Lou Ambers had faced Tony Canzaneri. He faced Barney Ross. He was in the time of Jimmy McLarnin. Lou Ambers would lose his crown to Lou Jenkins, being stopped in 3 rounds. and he had to go to the hospital. Henry Armstrong would defeat Lou Jenkins in 6 rounds. You see, my point is, there were examples that were unfavorable in the establishment. And these men did not fit the criteria. These were black fighters who could fight like hell. Eddie Booker, who was to your right, let's take a look at him. He was known as Black Dynamite. He was born November 5th, 1917 in Alto, Texas. He died January 26, 1975, which was the same year as the great Cincinnati Cobra, Ezzard Charles. Booker would die in San Jose, California. He stood 5 foot 9 inches. He was a middleweight, had a 79-inch reach. He had a total bout career of 79 bouts. Some would say 80, some would say 78, some would say 76. But he won 68 fights. Some would say 66. 5 losses, 33 knockouts, and 8 draws. Fought between 1935 and 1944. He was in the ring with fighters such as Herbert Lewis Hardwick and Bobby Pancho, Holman Williams, and Harry Kid Matthews. Harry Kid Matthews would eventually get a heavyweight championship shot with Rocky Marciano. Booker would also be in the ring with Jack Chase. Jack Chase was a problem for Eddie Booker. Why? Because he would take his California middleweight championship crown away from him. Would also been in the ring with Archie Moore, Lloyd Marshall and Izzy Genazzo, Shorty Hughes and Fritzy Zivik. His first 16 bouts, January 15th, 1935 to December 30th, 1935. He would win them all, 8 decisions and 8 knockouts. Between April 13th, 1936 and November 24th, 1936, Booker had 9 fights, 8 wins, and 1 draw. Between January 26, 1937 and October 8, 1937, he would have 8 bouts, 8 wins, 2 knockouts, 1 draw, and 5 decisions. And they will all be victories. Between January 14th, 1938 and December 20th, 1938, 8 bouts, 7 wins, 1 draw, and 3 knockouts. This was in the time of Henry Armstrong becoming the welterweight champion of the world. Between January 25th, 1939, December 18th, 1939, he would have 8 bouts, 5 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses, and 4 knockouts. This was in the time when Archie Moore was moving up. And Archie Moore had made a decision whether he was going to fight in the West Coast or the East Coast. During this time, he would take on fighters such as Bandit Ramiro and the Hughes brothers, Big Boy and Shorty Hughes. He would be a factor in this quote-unquote community. Now, what was interesting about Eddie Booker? He would draw with Holman Williams, lose to Fritzy Zivik, and lose to Herbert Lewis Hardwick in 1939. 1940, he would defeat Bobby Pancho. Between February 4th, 1941 and December 1st, 1941, he had 15 bouts, 2 draws, 1 loss, 13 wins, and 5 knockouts. He drew with Archie Moore and Shorty Hughes, lost to Shorty Hughes, and that was for the California or the USA middleweight championship belt. Now, he defeated Archie Moore, and he would win one and lose one to Shorty Hughes. He would win the California middleweight championship belt from Shorty Hughes. He would lose to Jack Chase January 11th, 1943 for the California State Middleweight Championship crown. During the process, he would face Big Boy Hughes. He would defeat him. Lloyd Marshall, he would defeat him. Archie Moore, he would defeat him. He would win one and lose one to Holman Williams. And he would defeat Izzy Genazzo. That, my friend, puts him in a category of championship status, with or without the established championship belt. Now, was he ever a colored champion? No, he was not. He did hold the California middleweight championship belt, the USA middleweight championship belt, multiple times. He was the only fighter to drop Archie Moore up until that point. He would crack the ribs of Archie Moore. And as we both know, Archie Moore would go on to do bigger and better things. But let's take a look at the career of Archie Moore. Now, Archie Moore was raised in St. Louis. He was known as Ancient Archie in the old mongoose. He was born December 13th, 1916 in Benoit, Mississippi, if you asked him. Began boxing at the age of 18. He loved Kid Chocolate, as did Ray Robinson, Joe Louis, Henry Armstrong, Eladio Valdez, who was Black Bill, Kid Gavilan. They all respected Kid Chocolate. And the thing about Archie Moore, he died December 9th, 1998 in San Diego, California. I had the pleasure spending a great deal of time and meeting Archie Moore. He's quite a character. But he was a phenomenal human being. Had a way of expressing himself. Lived through the old school ways, even though he was in so much of a millennial state as decades would pass him by. He was a trainer for George Foreman. And he would prepare him for the bout with Muhammad Ali in the Rumba in the Jungle, Zaire, Africa. 1974. You could find Archie Moore in Stillman's gym, helping fighters out, even though he was still managing his own career. My dad used to watch Archie Moore on a heavy bag, and he would bang both hands on the bag. He would do that crab-like defense with his elbows banging the bag around. And Archie Moore was something else. I have him personally ranked number one in my list of fighters. The greatest light heavyweight champion. Held that title for 10 years, one full decade. Until he was stripped in 1962 for both the WBA and the WBC. And I think Ring took their belt back as well. They claimed he was inactive. Archie Moore had to accept $800 in a match with Joey Maxim, as Joey Maxim would demand and receive $1,000. I'm sorry, $100,000 for Archie Moore to get a title shot. A simple thing as a title shot opportunity. Something everyone in the top 5 was deserving of. And this was something that really made you understand what was happening around you. Archie Moore would have a heart attack December 9th, 1998. He stood 5 foot 11 inches, had a 75-inch reach. He was a light heavyweight and fought from 1935 to 1963. He had a record of 220 total bouts, 186 wins, 23 losses, 132 knockouts. He was stopped 7 times and had 10 draws. Now he boxed up 1,472 rounds, 60% knockout ratio. He was in the ring with fighters such as Curtis the Hatchet Man Shepard and Charlie Doc Williams. Sammy Slaughter, September 9th, 1937. He would defeat him. Leonard Marrow, Jimmy Bivens, Oakland Billy Smith, as well as Burt Lytell. 1999, he would receive the Associated Press Fighter of the Century. 2006, California Boxing Hall of Fame. 2002, second-rated light heavyweight champion, according to Ring Magazine. 1990, the International Boxing Hall of Fame. He would be inducted. The best light heavyweight in the last 80 years. 2002, according to the Ring Magazine. He would train by digging ditches, chopping down wood with an axe with his bare hands. He said it would develop his arms. He would chop it forward and backwards, up and down, tree after tree, until he couldn't hold the axe anymore. He would face Young Jing Buffalo and Charlie Burley, Jimmy Bivens, and Ezzard Charles. Now he faced Ezzard Charles twice, between May 25th, 1929. I'm sorry, May 25th and June 29th. He would take on Tiger Ted Laurie, Bill Lytell twice, Oakland Billy Smith twice, Little Tiger Aaron Wade, Chuck Higgins, and Holman Williams, Coco Kid, Ezzard Charles, all in 1938. My God. Let's continue to examine this further. He faced Ezzard Charles, Cincinnati, Ohio. At that time, he had a record of 121 total bouts, 95 wins, 25 losses, 52 knockouts. Charlie Burley twice. Ezzard Charles had taken on Charlie Burley and Tommy Hurricane Jackson, Booker Beckworth, and Joey Maxim. Imagine Ezzard Charles having a record of 121 total bouts, 95 wins, 25 losses, 52 knockouts. Oh. He would face Archie Moore, speaking of Ezzard Charles, May 5th, 1947, the Music Hall Arena. Then again, January 13th, 1948, at the Cleveland Arena. Ezzard Charles would defeat Archie Moore twice. Archie Moore would take on Joey Maxim. Maxim had a record of 116 total bouts, 83 wins, 29 losses, and 22 knockouts. December 17th, 1952. June 24th, 1953. January 27th, 1954. And as I said, Maxim would demand and receive $100,000, while Moore would receive $800. Archie Moore, Ezzard Charles. Two men who were not members of Black Murderers Row played a very significant role in that fraternity. Jimmy Bivens, who turned professional in 1940, along with the great Ray Robinson, and Ezzard Charles, Mike Williams, and Willie Pep. August 22nd, 1945, Lakefront Stadium in Cleveland. He stood 5'9", had a 76-inch reach, had a record of 112 total bouts, 86 wins, 25 losses, 31 knockouts. Be in the ring with Tommy Hurricane Jackson, Cody Wallace, Joe Louis, Bob Baker, and Joey Maxim. We take on Carl Bobo Olsen, Carl Bobo Olsen was from Hawaii. He would face Archie Moore, 1955. Carl Bobo Olsen would become the middleweight champion in 1953, when Ray Robinson would retire in 1952. We'd have a tournament. Carl Bobo Olsen had to take on a fighter by the name of Patty Young. Randy Turpin had to take on Charlie Humms. He defeated Humms and Olsen defeated Young. So they would face one another. Carl Bobo Olsen would come out on top. And Carl Bobo Olsen would take on Ray Robinson and Archie Moore both in 1955. That's the same year that Archie Moore would face Rocky Marciano. Following year, he would retire. Archie Moore would take on Harold Johnson 4 times. April 26, 1949. At the Convention Hall, Harold Johnson was 24-0. They would fight in Philadelphia. September 24th, 1951. Johnson was 33-2. They would fight in Milwaukee Arena. January 29th, 1952. Harold Johnson was 34-3. Fought in Toledo, Ohio. On August 11th, 1954. Johnson was 47-5. They fought in New York's Madison Square Garden. Archie Moore would win 3. Harold Johnson would win 1. Archie Moore would take on Yvon Durrell. December 10th, 1958. Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And Durrell dropped Moore in the first round. He was up at 9. Dropped him a total of 3 times. Round 5. Archie Moore would get his legs back. And he would stop Yvon Durrell, showing everyone around him what a true professional he really was. 1955, he would take on Rocky Marciano, who had a record of 48-0 with 42 knockouts. Fought on Wednesday, September 21st, 1955, at New York's Yankee Stadium for the NBA Heavyweight Championship Tournament. And I say tournament because Rocky Marciano had made his last title defense. And what this did for Archie Moore, although he lost in 9 rounds, it set him up for a tournament, for an opportunity to face Floyd Patterson the following year in 1956. (1960) The NBA will be stripped from Archie Moore. 1962, the New York SAC would strip him as well because he was inactive. He would take on Willie Pastrana, May 28, 1962 in Los Angeles, California. Muhammad Ali, November 15, 1962. Ali was 15-0 with 12 knockouts. Fought him in Los Angeles, California. Shout out to Archie Moore. Shout out to Eddie Booker. But I want to express something to you that is very much overlooked. Eddie Booker would become the USA California State Middleweight Champion, defeating Shorty Hughes, San Diego Coliseum, May 2nd, 1941. Was off of 2 fight-winning streaks. Freddie Dawson, Leon Zarelli. He would have 4 title defenses, 5 fights combined, losing 1 to Shorty Hughes, August 22nd, 1941. 3 title defenses when he would regain that title, 4 matches combined, losing 1 to Little Joe Louis, Jack Chase, January 11th, 1943. Now, what's interesting about 43, as I stated to you once before, that 1943 would be the last year of the colored titles. Herbert Lewis Hardwick would defeat a fighter by the name of Holman Williams and become the colored middleweight champion. So the thing with Herbert Lewis Hardwick, he would be the first colored welterweight champion. First of the third wave of Black Murderers Row. He would lose that title in 1938 to Charlie Burley. But then he would win the colored middleweight championship in 1943. Eddie Booker was in an era with fighters such as Alan Faulkner, Charlie Green, Oakland Billy Smith, Leon Zarita, Elmer Valiant Ray, Obie Walker, Bobby Green, Billy Peacock, Tibby Larkin, Bobby Canister, Big Boy Hughes, Bandit Romero, Bernie Miller, Maurice Lefty LaChance, and Willie Joyce. Thanks for watching. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuff series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. What a fighter Eddie Booker was. Nearly 600 amateur bouts. Archie Moore. What can I say? Thanks for watching. Peace.